Okay? And
שלחנו את הקישור בקבוצה, נראה שכמה ייכנסו.
Yeah, okay, well, יש 14 כבר, אני חושב שאנחנו בסך הכל 16, לא? Let's see, how many guys are we? כי קרוב ביניך הדבר מאוד בפיך ובלבבך. Oh, 26. Okay, so we should wait a little bit. 14. Okay. So let's switch to English. Who said that she sent it to the WhatsApp group? Okay, let's start. Hello. Dana Agapov, hello.
כן, אני פה, כן.
Okay, hello.
כן.
מה זה כן? אני לא מבין עברית. מה זה כן?
Yes, present.
Yes, you present. אני מאוד אוהב מתנות. Okay, fine. Linoy and Shir and Guy and Daniel Boim.
Hello.
Hello, Shir. And Dov and Reuti. Sorry, סליחה. זה הבת שלי.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, דוב, שלום.
Hello.
Okay, סליחה, נפלטתי הרעותי כי חשבתי על הבת שלי. ברק. And
Which of them?
Shalom Michaeli.
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Very good. Shahad and Leah Boto.
Present. I'm here.
Very good. Eden. Okay.
I'm here.
Tamir
I'm here.
and iPhone. Benny's iPhone. And okay, he's trying to connect. And finally, Zoom user. He's a Zoom user. Okay, anyway, בסדר. So whoever's here is here. And I would like to start class. Actually, Azoy, we have around an hour and a half, a little bit less by now, and I want to accomplish two things. First of all, I'd like to spend around 20 minutes just to finish off our last lesson. So I'm just gonna get this up here. And after we finish this lesson, I would like, of course, this is the main event tonight, is to talk about, well, we're not allowed to call it exam, so we'll call it matola, a work. And I just want to make sure that we all know what to do. How come this isn't? Oh, here we go. Cool scene. And this guy. And lesson 5. And let's maximize it. And let's switch. Okay, guys, I'm sorry about this. Swap. Okay, you can go here and you're fine. How come I don't see the pictures? Who knows? Who knows where they disappear to? Let's pull some stuff and that will help us. Here we are. Let's take this guy and put him over here. Okay, Yofi. Okay, so again, hello to everybody. You remember that last lesson, what does this guy want? Okay, Arnold, hello, my dear friends. Okay, hello, bechazarat, to Arnold. Okay, so you remember that last time we were discussing various religious solutions for the prohibition of taking interest, usury, or interest. We saw a number of different directions that the Islamic, I wouldn't say Islamic rabbis, but the Islamic religious leaders have developed. And I would say the core idea of all their solutions were basically to somehow transform any loan into some type of buying and selling situation. So for example, instead of taking a mashkanta, instead of taking a loan in order to buy my house, the bank buys the house together with me. So effectively, they've provided the money needed to complete the acquisition, but they didn't give me a loan. They just bought it together with me. And hi, Danielle. And I slowly pay back the bank. Okay, after that, we moved on to the most common Jewish solution today. We're not talking about the Iska, about the strawman solution that we saw in the previous week, which is called an Iska. And I'm going to pick up over here. I would like you guys just to please keep tab on the time. And let's say no later than 20 to 8, please remind me that we have to start talking about 2 weeks, about the exam. Okay, so at around 20 to 8, if I get lost, please remind me that that's what's more important for you guys tonight. Okay, so let me just remind you, let's start from here actually. What is the concept of Iska? Iska, if I had to translate that into English, I would say the deal. That sounds like a good name for a movie. Iska really means the deal or the business. And how does this work? Supposing I'm the bank and whatever, John Doe wants to borrow money from me. He wants 100 shekel. I turn around to John and tell him, listen, I will give you 100 shekel, but that 100 shekel will legally be defined or halachically be defined as 2 separate transactions. One transaction will be 50 of the loan. By the way, in a parenthetical remark, those of you who have ever taken out a mortgage, a mashkanta on their house, you know that the mortgage itself is really divided into sub-loans, like one is for X years at X percent, and the other is Y years for Y percent. But I know that usually mortgages are like kind of divided into separate loans, each with separate properties. So the concept of getting a large sum, which consists of 2 smaller sums under different conditions, should not be completely new to you, should not be completely novel. Okay, I'm sorry. So now I'm getting back to what I was saying. So I, the bank, tell John Doe, en baya, no problemo. I will give you 100, but 50 I will give it to you as a loan, halva'a. And what are the characteristics of a loan? First of all, this loan of 50, you will have to return to me in any event. I don't really care what happens or what you do with this 50 loan. This is your money, do whatever you want to do with it. But at the end of the day, at the end of the month, at the end of the century, whatever, you give me back exactly what I gave you. Of course, en ribit, right? We're talking about bli ribit. And so that's one point. It returns to the lender in any event. On the upside, any profits or loss that you might gain from this 50 loan, those profits, let's be optimistic, those profits are yours. They belong to John Doe, and I, the bank, cannot touch a single penny of your profits. This is your loan, your money, your profits, your losses. All I know is at the end of the day, the actual keren of the loan, the principal is returned to me. Then there's another part, which we call a deposit, pikadon, which will be another 50. And over here, the details are different. First of all, this money is not really yours, John Doe. This money is mine, belongs to the bank, but you're going to invest it for me, together with your own investments. Don't worry about this, because if you, John Doe, need 100 shekel in order to buy a taxi, then you're going to buy it, 50 loan, 50 deposit, machbat. At the end of the day, you bought the taxi. Keilu, half the taxi belongs to the bank. Okay, and therefore, of course, any profit or any loss which will happen to the 50 of the deposit, al cheshboni, the bank. It's my loss or my profit. And there's another interesting point here, is that since John Doe is only guarding my money for me, he's a shomer, then with the case of a guard, sometimes he is exempt from returning the object. I mean, for example, supposing I give somebody a cow to guard for me. Not only do I give this cow, para, to him to guard for me, but I even pay him for it, shomer sachar. What happens if this cow dies? You tell me. What do you think is going to happen? John Doe gets a cow to guard, to take care of, and malasot, the cow dies. Does he have to return a cow to the bank?
No.
Of course not, right? Malasot, I was taking care of your cow, died, what can I do? So it's very important to understand that in the case of the deposit, if something extraordinary happens to the deposit, right? Ones, ganav, srefa, habursa nafla. In all of those cases, I say, I'm sorry, your cow died. This is the Iska. Now, why is everybody so excited about this Iska? Because if you think about it, each ingredient or each part really motivates the other. And let me explain what I mean. For example, if I would go to John Doe and say, listen, here's $50, it's my money, go invest it. Whatever you gain is mine, whatever you lose is my loss, but go, work for me. John Doe would tell me, Ishtagata, what's wrong with you? Why should I waste my time, working for you? And on the other hand, if John Doe would come to me and say, please give me 50 loan interest free, I would tell him, Ishtagata, why should I give you my money? I mean, I understand that I'm not endangering it, because in any event it'll come back to me, but I can do stuff with this money meantime. Why should I give you the money? But now when we do chetzi, then each side motivates the other. Because when I come and ask John Doe to do me a favor, so to speak, and work with my money, and he says, why in the world should I do that? My answer to him is, well, listen, if you're willing to take my deposits and make profits for me, guess what? I'm going to also give you a loan, and you'll be able to make profits for yourself from that loan. Beseder, shaveli. And vice versa. When John Doe comes to me and says, please give me a loan, and he says, and you know what, in return for that loan, I'm going to be willing to also invest your money as a deposit, the bank will say, bemet shaveli. Right? I'll take the loan, make my own profits, and in return, I'll also make a profit for you. So at first glance, this seems like a perfect match. Each component kind of motivates the other component. Are things clear up until now? Any questions? Are we all okay? Okay, so I'm going to continue. Okay, so now let's just summarize. If I ask you here, how does the lender profit? So the answer is, right, I, the lender, the bank, I profit from the right side, from the deposit side. Okay? Except that the bank still isn't completely happy. The bank can actually anticipate two dangers. The bank says, listen, ala niyar ze yafe me'od. You're gonna take this 50 plus 50, you're gonna invest it, you're a Warren Buffett, atatase milyon. Okay. But what about if you don't make milyonim? What about if instead of if your investment falls through? Right? So where, well, okay, I'm sorry, I'm not going in the proper order. I'm sorry, let's go back a step. Forget about the profits. The bank says, listen, I'm going to give you, let me just go back a little bit. I'm going to give you 100, 50 as a loan and 50 as a deposit. So about the loan, ani shaket, the loan, the principal is going to come back to me because a loan always has to be returned. Of course, if you go bankrupt, that's a separate issue. But under normal circumstances, no matter what happens to this money, it's going to come back to me. But says the bank to John Doe, I'm worried about the deposit. What happens if there's an honest? For example, you invest this in a particular stock and the stock falls. A war between Russia and Ukraine breaks out and the stock falls. You're not going to repay me. So I'm in danger, says the bank. I'm going to give you the 50 deposit and it's going to fall through. Right? The principal is in danger because under certain circumstances, for example, if the cow dies, then I don't return it to you. So why should I expose myself to such a danger? Okay. The solution here, and by the way, now we're moving on really from Iska to Heter Iska. The solution here is very, very interesting. That's this little wavy thing that I brought here. I'm going to go a little bit slower now. Maybe I should stop here. Does everybody understand?
I didn't understand the borrower waves.
Yeah, wait, I didn't explain that part. I just want to go back to the square, to the green rectangle. Does everybody understand why the principal, the keren of the deposit is in danger? The bank might not get it back. That part I hope is clear to everybody, and I'll explain it again. Just for the sake of understanding, make believe this 50 deposit is a cow, para b'ivrit. And if this cow that I give you as a deposit dies, then you don't have to return it. Ma lasot, natata li mashu lishmo, you gave me your cow to guard. I put it in the barn, I gave it food, samti lo muzika. Ma lasot, sometimes cows die. What can I do?
So they return a donkey instead of
Okay, who wants a donkey? Anyway, but the point is that under such circumstances, the shomer of the pikadon does not have to give back the cow. Now, you might ask me, I don't understand. Any shomer can simply tell the mafkid, you know what, your cow died, your gold ring was stolen, your wheat burnt down. You can always make up stories, and any shomer would, by definition, be exempt from paying back. So, of course, the halacha is not that naive. And if you, the shomer, if you want to exercise your right to be exempt from repaying the deposit, you have to take an oath. Nishba, you have to take an oath that the cow actually died, that the stock actually fell, whatever claim you make so that you're exempt from returning the money, you have to support it with an oath. So here, the Chachamim came up with a pretty interesting idea. And in the contract here regarding this Iska, they add a clause. And that's this little wavy thing here. And what happens in this clause, the borrower, our John Doe, waives. Okay, look at this word, waives. Okay, it's not galim bayam, and it's not to wave goodbye, but it's W-A-I-V-E-S. This means levater, bidiu, right? To waives his credibility is mevater. So the borrower waives his credibility by oath. The borrower says, Nachon, according to halacha, I can take an oath and I will be exempt from paying you, but I'm willing to agree in advance that even if I take an oath, you don't have to believe me. This is an interesting concept, which of course I'm not going to understand now, that somebody can actually waive a right that the Torah gives him, right? The Torah says, "V'nishba v'niftar." And nevertheless, in the contract, we can agree that that is not a viable option for you. You're waiving that right. So at this point, the bank.
So how is it different from Gentiles?
How is it? What do you mean? How is it different than Gentiles?
The whole idea is for it to be according to the halakha, right?
Right.
So now it's like it's taken out of context.
When you say taking out of context, you're saying it's not halachic anymore.
Yes.
Okay,
It's
so
like
so
anything else.
Okay, that is a good question, but so I want to stress again, certainly in Dinei Mamonot, the Torah itself allows us to sometimes change the terms. I mean, for example, you can't make an agreement that, you know what, on Pesach I can eat chametz. That you can't make a contract about that. You can't make a contract, you know, I'm going to work for you on Shabbat and I'm allowed to do melacha on Shabbat. Of course, that you can't do. But when we're talking about the realm of the monetary realm, Dinei Mamonot, over here, the Torah gives you usually a right to bend the rules, to change the rules, right?
Sports are part of the Dinei Mamonot? I mean, דיני נזיקין הם חלק מדיני הממונות?
For sure. But this isn't nezikin. And Dinei Shomrim is not really nezikin. It's not damage that I'm doing to you, right? I did you a favor. I was guarding your cow. Then something happened to the cow. You know, a missile from Gaza fell on it. Then what can I do? If I went and killed your cow, then of course ani mazik. Or if I, was negligent and let your cow run away, ani mazik. But if I guarded the cow properly and nevertheless something happened, ani beseder. I just have to take an oath.
Can I ask something?
Why am I at fault if the bank invests in something that isn't profitable?
That's considered, that's considered an honest. I took your money in goodwill. I invested it in something which seemed to be lucrative. Malasot, nafal. This investment didn't work out. You wouldn't treat this as if the shomer, shot the cow in the head. I invested, betom lev, and malasot, this is what happened. Of course,
Okay, but here, if the guard is waiving his rights, that means he needs to reimburse him for the cow.
No, that's exactly the point. Right. Yeah, exactly. Of course, exactly. I think it's reimburse rather than imburse. I think it's reimburse.
Sorry, reimburse, yeah.
I think so. But yeah, that's exactly the point. That is exactly the point, because now the bank is ragua, is calm, because they know that even if the cow dies, nobody's going to believe him because he waived his rights and he'll have to pay back the cow. That is exactly the beauty of this little clause here. That by waiving my rights, effectively that means that even if something happens to the cow and theoretically I should be exempt, nevertheless, I will have to pay because I waived my right. Okay, that is exactly the point.
Wait, so
you want to hear something? I'm sorry, yes?
yeah, how exactly the bank profit though if the lender has no profit?
Okay, very good. You're asking what I just added here in purple, right?
And
Right?
I have also one more question.
Okay.
When we just started talking about interest, you said that the lender is not allowed to ask for interest and the to give interest, and the
Borrower.
the borrower is not allowed to ask to borrow with interest. So how is this different when you say the borrower waives his credibility by oath? Isn't it like the same?
Wait, first of all, Reut, I didn't understand your question, and I might have not actually heard the whole thing. So
Oh.
ask it again, please.
When you said the borrower waives his credibility by oath, it's kind of like what we said at the beginning, that the borrower and the lender are not allowed to use interest, like to ask and to give. So isn't it like the same here?
It isn't, because the material that we're talking about is not ribit. We're talking actually about changing dinei shomrim. I'm going to give you my cow, and you're going to guard it, and you're going to have to give back the cow or its value no matter what happens. That's not ribit. I mean, that's changing the laws of shomrim, but that's not ribit. It's not that I'll give you back a cow and a half. Okay? The fact, I hope I'm understanding your question, Reut. The fact that I, the bank, get something that I don't deserve doesn't necessarily mean that that's ribit. Perhaps, according to halacha, I don't deserve to get the cow back because the shomer is patur in the case of, let's say, ones, but we made an agreement that I would be chayav nevertheless. So you can't make such an agreement on ribit. You can't say, well, even though the Torah doesn't allow ribit, we're going to agree that we're happy to give and take ribit. That you can't do, because taking ribit, even though this is interesting, even though ribit is money, but the isur of ribit is not dinei mamonot. That's isur veheter. Let me just quiet down everybody here. Reut, I hope I answered your question. I hope I understood it and answered it. Are you okay?
Yeah, you understood it. You understood it, but yeah, it's a little bit difficult, but it's fine.
You're still not happy, huh?
No, it's fine, because it's
okay.
Like,
okay. Anyway, if there's something that bothers you, so ask again in a moment. I'm going to now answer your first question, which is here in purple. And that question was, Yofi, the deposit is going to return in full to the bank because of the green, or because I waived it. But shura tachtona, I gave you 50, I got back 50. Ma yatzali mize. There are no profits. Right? That was your question. This is a question which should actually bother you all, or certainly the bank. And here there's another very, very interesting and kind of abstract solution. And let's get down to the next little thing. The borrower buys all rights to the profit in advance. And now I'll try to explain it. Supposing I'm the banker, okay, Reut, you're going to be the borrower, okay? Reut comes to me and takes 100, 50 loan, 50 deposit. Loan and malasot, we agree about that. Regarding the deposit, I tell Reut, what happens if the cow dies? Reut says, don't worry about it. I'm waiving my credibility. And even if chas v'shalom, the cow dies, nobody's going to believe me. I'm waiving my right to credibility. And therefore, effectively, I will have to pay you for the cow. Then I say to Reut, I wish you a lot of success. But what happens if there are no revachim? What then? So here the solution is as follows. The bank says to Reut, I say to Reut, you know what? Listen, I don't know how much profit you're going to make. 5%, 10%, 100%, 500%, any musag kama revachim you. But you know what, Reut? I will sell you my profits on the deposit for a certain sum. In this case, I will sell you my profits, which belong to me from the deposit. I will sell to you for 5% of the Iska. Do you agree? You have no choice but to agree.
Can you repeat that?
Yes. We make a deal that the borrower, this is Reut in our case, is going to buy chatul basak, or if you want, para basak, but chatul basak, in the sense that Reut says, I don't know how much profit, I'm going to be able to make for you, but I'm willing to buy your profits, off your deposits. I will buy them in advance, even though I have no idea how much profit that will be, for an agreed sum of, let's say, 5% of the Iska. So at the end of the month, when Re'ut comes back, she's going to give me 50 for the loan, 50 for the deposit, no matter what happened to the money, because, we already waived her right for that, and 5% of the Iska, which is another 5 shekel. Of course, it's not ribit. Well, it's not ribit. This is, she bought chatul basak. She bought the profits, or maybe I should be more precise. She bought the rights to the profits in advance. He kantayt hazchut larevachim sheli merosh. Now, of course, she's taking a risk, because what happens if the profits are very low? She still has to pay the 5%. What happens if there's a loss? She still has to pay that 5%. What happens if there's a tremendous gain? The 100 shekel turns into 500 shekel. Here, she sichkauta. Over here, she would only have to pay again that 5%. Vazi mamash shirvicha.
Why? Why only 5% and not
Whatever.
50?
I'm just
No,
saying.
no.
Yeah.
I mean, like, כתוב שם הרווחים ללווה והרווחים למלווה. אז הרווחים למלווה יכולים להיות לדוגמה 50% ו50% ללווה. אז איך זה נשאר, אם יש רווח, איך זה נשאר רק 5%?
Okay, exactly. That's exactly the point. Because אני לא יודע, I don't know, I the bank, I don't know how much רווחים are going to be here. Is it going to be a negative revach, a loss? Is it going to be 0? Is it going to be 5? Is it going to be 500? I have no idea what's going to happen in the future. And I don't really care. I'm the bank. All I want to know is that I make my 5%.
So there's always a cap?
What's a cap?
Like, top כאילו ל...
מה, גבול כמה אפשר לדרוש?
Yes.
No, I just said 5%. They can make it 20%, 8%, whatever.
The higher the lower the loan, the higher the rate.
But that's not really part of the logic of the actual heter iska. How exactly, how much money the bank wants to make, and how much it's going to ask the loaner, the borrower, to pay for the profits in advance is a separate issue. I'm talking about the ikaron. Yes?
רבע.
So
Yeah,
if we're going back to the example you gave about the cow, I'm gonna have to give you back a cow and a quarter cow.
Well, that's 25%, That's if we talk about revachim. I mean, in the cow case, it's usually stam shmira, and I don't expect, profits off the cow. You're my ro'eh, you're my shepherd. Hashem ro'i lo echsal, you're my shepherd for my cows, and I don't really expect you to come back with, 4 cows instead of 3. So over there, the concept of revachim doesn't really exist. It only
But the cow also can have profits.
Yeah, I mean,
it has litters.
Of course, if I'm the shepherd, I'm the ro'eh, which means I'm the shomer. If I take care of your cow and one of the cows gives birth to a calf, for example, then of course that calf belongs to the owner. That's very simple. And by the same token, if one of the cows dies, too bad. Al cheshbon ha'owner.
No, but if the cow dies, I also it doesn't matter. I have to give you back a cow and a calf.
Yeah, that's if we have this little section over here in place. But the credibility and everything, all these extra seifim here usually are only applied not to a shepherd and cows, but to cases where I give you money.
Yeah, it's an analogy. I understand it.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah, fine. So yes,
I assume,
you understand.
May I say something?
Yes, you still can go. Yeah.
I assume it's similar. Tell me if it's similar, please. like insurance companies today, not only insurance, but mostly insurance companies like Klal or something, the big ones.
Yeah.
When I put the deposit, they promise me after 20 years, every year 4%, no matter what is happen, if they lose everything or if they will win 500%, I will get 4% like pension every year. 4%. It's similar that you said 5% for the profit.
I'm not sure because I'm not exactly familiar with what you're talking about. But al panav, it sounds like a similar deal.
A lot of people, this is their deal. When someone have a pension or any worker, even any worker, if he has a path of honi, when you want to withdraw all your money in the end of the, but now I think it's new, you cannot withdraw all your money, but they promise you 4% whatever it's happened to your investment.
Okay, so again, I'm not 100% familiar with exactly, the details there, but al panav, it sounds like something similar in the sense that the chevrat bituach is really mitchayev lechatul basak. They're saying,
Yes,
I don't know what's going to happen with all this money that you put it into your pension account, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Whatever is in your pension accounts, we're going to give you, a monthly stipend of X shkalim or X percent, regardless of what's left in your pension. So in that sense, you're right. It's quite similar.
Yes, and sorry, you asked us to remind you.
Yes. We're already 8 minutes late. Okay, so we did this. I'm sorry that we did it a little bit fast. I hope you can understand it if you go over the matzeget again. But yes, now I would like to talk about the test, the exam. So let me just close this guy up. By the way, you know what? Look, I just want to make sure that you understand what's happening here. In this shekef here, if you want to then lachzor al ze lamivchan, then don't go beyond this guy, number 24. Okay, there are 44 shkafim sachakol, but anything after 24 is irrelevant. I mean, even 24 is irrelevant. This was just to show you that at least in Beit Shemesh, you see toch 10 yamim ve'eter Iska, and this is actually a shtar eter Iska, which they hung up in Bank Leumi in Ramat Beit Shemesh. They're all everybody here is super duper Haredi. So of course the bank is going to put up this thing in a bereish gale, so the people aren't hesitant about using the bank. All right, Yofi. So I'm going to close this matzeget now, if I can, and I want to talk about the exam. Okay, again, we can't call it an exam because I don't want to cause trouble. So we're going to call it a matala. I'm just trying to get to where we have to get. Where is, did I close everything up? Okay, let's get back to here. And let's go to here. I'm just going back into our Moodle. Okay, so actually, if you guys want to go into your Moodle, you should be able to see the same thing that I see. So here's our course on what day can Moses and blah, blah, blah. And let's look now here. Am I sharing my screen with you?
We saw the practice, but we were too scared to open it.
Okay, beseda. We'll open it together, yeah. Because
I already wrote it, so I passed the test?
I'm sure you did, but now you have to pass the real test, not the practice. Anyway, Rabotai, so look what's happening here. So this is our Moodle, this is our joint course on what day can Moses, blah, blah, blah. Let's just look for a moment here. Announcements, Zelo Relevanti. This is where, for example, I just sent you that email with the new link. Nochechut Talmidim Beseder, that's also relevant. This guy over here is important. You see, this is really a link to my Google Drive. I'm just going to open it up. Okay, so you should see exactly what I see here also. Okay, and I would actually recommend that you, instead of just looking at my screen, you actually try to open up your own screen so you know that everything works. So I'm opening up this link, and see what happens. Basically, you're in my Google Drive here, and this is all there is for the exam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are six PowerPoint presentations. This is the chomel. This is the material for the exam. No more and a little bit less. I'm saying a little bit less because you'll remember, for example, that this last PowerPoint that we saw, we only have to do the first 23, let's say, how do you say shkafim, whatever, shkafim. Okay, so we have this. This was kind of an introduction to what the course is about. We have A Wrinkle in Time. This is where we spoke in general about the challenges of living in a dual culture society. You know, what happens, you have a Western a calendar for your regular life, you have a Jewish/Islamic calendar for your cultural life, and that can often cause a balagan. And that really moved on to the next case of 3 religions and 3 calendars. And here we also spoke about the lunar calendar, the solar calendar, a leap year, and all those things. All that happened over here in lesson number 2. Lesson number 3 was about when does the day begin? Sunrise, sunset, midnight. And here we saw that there's a gap between the Western day, or I would say the Israeli day, which begins at midnight, and the Jewish and Islamic day, which begins at sunset. And then we had all these funny situations, for example, where the religious date changes at, let's say, 6 o'clock in the evening, and the Western date changes only at 12 o'clock at night. And this is where I showed you Re'utis, Tudat Zehut, where Bemet there's a discrepancy between her date of birth in Gregorian calendar as opposed to the Jewish calendar. They just, they miscalculated it. All right, and this, of course, is where we had that interesting thing about Shabbat. When does Shabbat begin according to the Israeli law? It was Ayuv Yakubian, that was exciting. Okay, then we moved on to the concept of interest. In all the religions, all 3 monotheistic religions, they all view taking interest or usury as a pretty severe prohibition. And we made the comment is, that's really strange. I mean, doesn't God understand economics? Why in the world would he make such a crazy or irrational type of prohibition? And actually, to that we answered, and I'm repeating it again because it's important, in my opinion. The Ramban says that it's important to realize that the Isur of Ribit is not because Ribit is so bad, but it's because the Torah is trying to encourage the Jew, to be nice, or especially nice to his brother. So if a non-Jew, as you mentioned before, a Gentile, if a non-Jew wants to take a loan, sababa, but we go according to the rules of economics. You want money, you got to pay interest. But if your brother, and in this case, I mean, of the same religion, wants a loan, then over here, let's be extra special nice to him and not ask for ribit. Malasot, but how do you solve this problem today? Because we can't actually have a society without interest. So here the first solution we gave Guys, again, if I'm going too fast, you can stop me. What I'm doing now is just very quickly going over the course that we had together. So one solution was, which works between Jews and Christians only, and this was really a great party during the Middle Ages. Each one views the other religion as the Gentile, and they both follow the laws of the Torah, which means lanochri tashich v'le'achicha lo tashich. So the Christian looks at the Jew and he says, "You're my nochri, I can lend you with interest." And the Jew looks at the Christian and says, "You're my nochri, and therefore I can lend you with interest." And this is like a perfect match. Kol echad hu hagoy shel ribit shel hasheni. Okay, so that was one solution. We were playing around with this idea of the straw man. But this certainly won't work for the Islam, because Islam prohibits interest across the board. It doesn't matter, nochri, achicha, ribit, asura, nekuda. So what does the Islam do? And I'm going to go over again briefly just the main idea. The Islam's solution is actually quite simple. They say, listen, we can't deal with interest, but we can deal with buying and selling at a profit. That's not a problem, right? The Islam never, no religion ever said that you can't make a profit on what you buy and sell, right? I mean, early Islam, they were all socharim, they were all merchants, or yeah. So instead of the bank lending you money to buy your house, the bank says, you know what, I'm going to buy the house together with you. So I'm not lending you any money. You'll pay for half of the house because that's what you have. That's the capital that you have. I will pay the owner the other 50%. Okay, fine. So now the bank and this young couple own the house together. And of course, the bank agrees in advance to allow this young couple to live in the house. And the bank says to him, you know what, you want to buy my half as well? So you can make those payments over 20 years. But again, those payments, please listen, this is not paying back a mashkanta. I'm not paying back my loan. I'm slowly buying the other half from you, the bank. Another variation was the bank says, listen, this is my house. Meanwhile, I'm not interested in selling it. You pay me rent. And after 20 years of paying me rent, the bank says, you know what? Yalla, you can take it as a present. Okay, these are different ways of introducing it. And this is what's called Hijaba. Okay, Hijaba is to actually buy a house together instead of mashkanta. Then there were some other solutions. There was sukuk and murabcha and all those things. But again, I'm saying the core of all these solutions is that I'm not lending you money, but I'm your partner. We're going to buy things together. If you want to buy bonds, you're not lending me money, but you're actually buying a percent of my assets. Okay. Then we moved on to the concept of Iska, and finally Heter Iska. Iska at first glance is not that different from the Islamic solutions, right? I'm going to give you a loan, but the loan really consists of two parts: a regular loan, a halva'a, and a pikadon, which really means that I'm giving you my money for you to invest for me. That's what we discussed at the beginning of tonight. And after we spoke about the Iska, we said, wait a minute, the bank is still in danger. What happens if there's an ones to the pikadon? What happens if there are actually no profits? And here we artificially added two clauses to the Iska in order to protect the bank. Clause number 1 was where the borrower waives his right to take an oath and say that he's exempt from paying back the pikadon. So even though al pi din, that right exists, but ani vitalti al ze. So now the bank has protected its capital. And regarding the eventuality of no profits, the bank says, why don't you just buy these potential profits in advance? We both of us, we have no idea, how much you will succeed or fail, but you're willing to take a chance. You're going to buy whatever's in that bag for 5%, whatever sum we agree upon. And now everything is yours. So at the end of the month, you'll actually get the profits of the Pikadon as well, even though theoretically they're mine, but you bought them from me in advance. And זה כל הסיפור. במאמר המוסגר, I would say here, maybe I shouldn't, but I'll say it anyway. It's a little bit problematic, according to Jewish law, to buy the future or to buy abstract things. Davar shelo ba la'olam. I mean, in modern society, we deal with this all the time, right? You buy the coffee produce, you buy a future gas that will be found, future wheat that will grow. We know about this from commerce, but according to Jewish law, to buy something that doesn't really exist yet is not so simple. So how exactly does this guy buy a chatul basar? How exactly does he buy the rights to profits which have not yet happened? Okay, that's a separate issue, which we're not going to get into. Okay, let me stop here for a moment. So what I did up until now was first define the material for our exam. And that material are these 5 matzagot in front of you. And I briefly went through what I think are the highlights of each lesson. Okay, so this, or instead of saying highlights, I should say the skeleton of each of these presentations. And of course, you're expected to fill in the meat and the skin on the skeletons that I gave here. So now at this point, I'm stopping and I'm asking, are there any questions? Is there anything unclear? Any comments?
יהיה חומר פתוח?
Well, theoretically, no. I can't safeguard it, but no. כעיקרון, לא, and hopefully גם לא צריך. Soon we'll see this practice test, and
we're going to do the test at home, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not allowed to call it a test. We're going to call it a avodat gemer. I really should change the title there also. Okay, so yeah, so en chomer patuach, no open material. Okay, any other questions or comments about what I've said up until now?
Yes, you are expected to extended answers or concise?
One second. Let's get to the exam and then we'll talk about that, okay? I'm trying to get to the exam. What do I do here now? Let's see. Maybe just go back, actually. Let's see if this works. Yes. Okay, so now we're back in our Moodle. So we know what this PowerPoint presentation means. These Moodle things are meaningless, right? These were just the links to the past lessons that we have. They don't work anymore. There's nothing here. What you do have, though, if you look here on your left, it says Sirtei Zoom. Does everybody see this on the left? Sirtei Zoom? Guys, are you with me? Do you see this?
Yes.
Okay, very good. I don't know why there are 2 of each. One in Hebrew, one in English. I don't know. I don't know why there are 2 of each, but I think they're basically the same. And these should be haklatot of our classes together. I would suggest, I think, maybe listening to each haklata, but, במהירות, 1.5, 2, whatever, מה שאתם יכולים לסבול, you can go much faster. And I think that's probably one of the best ways to do chazara unless you feel that you've taken like really good notes. Okay, now I would like to do this practice test. Let's change this word. שלא יתפסו אותי במילה, מה שנקרא, we should call it practice work, practice paper. Great, I don't know what to call it. Okay, whatever. I stumble as best as I can. Paper. Okay, good. Enter. Okay, let's open this up. Have you ever done Moodle or Zoom, Moodle exams in the past? Are you familiar with this icon here?
Yes, we already did it.
Yeah, okay, good. I mean, in the past, you had to open up Zoom, you had to send in a picture of your Tudat Zehut. Okay, all you really have to do is just to go into this thing. You'll see, Bezrat Hashem, in 2 weeks, there will be, Matalat, Sof Kurs, or Mashu Kazeh, with the same icon, and then you go in. Now, the way I made this practice paper is that you can actually go in on multiple occasions. Of course, in the real case, you'll only get one chance. You go in once, you do your business, you submit it, and then you can't go in and fix it again. But over here for the practice, you can, I hope you can. If I define the parameters properly, you can go in on multiple occasions. Now, I want to make some. Okay, so here, you see, I'm gonna have to do this and Misspelling המבחן. Yof. Okay. Why am I doing this practice test? So I'm doing it for 2 reasons. I mean, first of all, just to see how it works and what type of exam it's going to be, so you don't on the day of the exam arrive and become disoriented. Number 2, and okay, I only made 8 questions here, but I hope you get an impression. When I was a student, and actually it wasn't that long ago, you'd go to class and you understand everything and you say, mea batuach. And then you come to the exam and you have no idea what the guy wants from you. He asks these crazy questions. You don't understand what the question is. You don't understand what the answer has to be, even though, kivyachol, אתה מכיר את החומר על בוריו. So for me, it's really important to give you examples of questions that I ask. Not that I'm that important, but what can I do? I'm gonna be writing this test, and I just want you to get a feel of what type of questions I ask and what type of answers I expect. And this is for 2 reasons. Number 1, again, is shelo tiyu b'shok. And number 2, I think this should really help to give you kind of an idea of what I think is ikar and tafel in the course. I mean, of course, I'm not going to ask you about every matseget, about every last detail. Some things are more important and some things are less important. And I'm hoping that through these few questions, you'll kind of get a feel of what I think is important and not important. Again, not because I'm that important, malasot. I'm the one who writes the test for you. And maybe this is a good time just to make very clear to you guys that in the next 2 weeks, if you have any questions, any problems, any comments, anything that I can help you, please don't hesitate to contact me. You should have my phone number, and I'm going to put it up again. Okay, 0508-316-077. בבקשה, תרגישו חופשי. Okay, you can call me, you can WhatsApp me, מתי שאתם רוצים, and I promise that I will give you high priority in replying in the next.
לא בשבת.
אתם יכולים לכתוב בשבת, אבל אני לא יוכל לענות עד מוצאי שבת. כנ"ל ביום כיפור וכנ"ל בראש השנה. יום כיפור זה כבר אחר כך, אבל ראש השנה. Yeah, so of course, if I can't answer, I can't answer. אבל חשוב לי שתרגישו נעים, אל תגידו, זה 10 בלילה, לא נעים, whatever, הכל בסדר. You're not going to wait.
Grade less for misspelling?
I'm sorry?
do you grade less for misspelling?
Zeo, I think not. I mean, I'm going to expect you to write in English, but I mean, unless you make crazy mistakes. But if you write receive, IEVE instead of EIVE, no, I won't. Mainly because I myself, I'm not such a great, so great in grammar in English. But I'd expect you to write in English, and in fairly decent English. Mind you, when I was in Kita Chet in 8th grade, our algebra teacher, she was a very strict teacher. This was in the United States. She would actually take off points for spelling mistakes. So I once wrote the axiom of symmetry or something, and I wrote it with one M instead of two, or I don't know. Anyway, so no, I'm not going to take off for spelling. And look, if בשום פנים ואופן אתם לא מצליחים להתנסח באנגלית, אז תכתבו בעברית. אולי אז אני אוריד כמה נקודות, אבל לפחות תוכלו להוכיח שאתם יודעים במה מדובר. Okay, so I hope I made everything clear.
No, you didn't answer to my questions.
Yeah.
Are you expected to extend or short answer?
Yeah. So let's. I'll try to answer that by going through these questions. Okay. So let's begin. And again, don't hesitate to ask. So let's see. So all the questions here are really questions that you have to answer with a few sentences. אני לא מצפה למגילות. And I think the maximum that I allowed was 15 lines, which is a lot. לא צריך כל כך הרבה, but let's try to practice it. So let's start with the first question. And also, as I read it, if you think that something is not clear, please let me know. I also have to practice, writing the questions in a clear fashion. Okay, מתחילים. So, Professor Israel Oman, accepted an invitation to receive a degree of honoris causes at NAC, Netanya Academic College, but later had to decline on account of it being scheduled on the Memorial Day of his son Shlomo. This is an example of living in a dual culture society. Please explain. Okay, so how would we answer such a thing? Right, I would say, does anybody want to try, or should I try?
Yes,
first?
my answer was to live in a big cultural society is to be under different values at the same time. That is what is sacred to you in your culture can be unimportant in another culture, and thus it's collides with your everyday life. And now I'm thinking it's not the exact answer.
So am I. What did you miss here? I mean,
I miss the dates. The dates calendar,
right?
Yes, the calendar. Yes.
Right. I mean, so let me be clear. What you said is true. That's an example of a dual culture society, and you have different values that can sometimes clash or collide. But that's not the point here. The point here really is about the calendar.
The
right?
Hebrew calendar and a Christian calendar.
Right. In this case, it's really a Jewish calendar and a Western calendar.
Western, yes, Western.
Right. So let's see. I'm going to try to write it in, I would say, in our dual society. Or I would say maybe better, our dual society is governed. You can write whatever you want, but this is the basic idea. By two calendars, right? Calendars. יש לכם יתרון שאם יש spelling mistake, אז כאן הוא מתקן לכם את זה בדרך כלל. By two calendars, let's say the Western or Gregorian, you can write it whatever you want. Gregorian calendar for our everyday life and a religious. Okay, I'm not going to fix my mistakes on the way here. And the religious calendar for our cultural needs. I'm writing religious and not lav dafka Jewish because the same problem exists for Jews and for Muslims and for our cultural needs. Sometimes, if we are not aware, the two calendars can clash. For example, with Almin, with Almin, who I guess agreed to the invitation based on the Gregorian, I'm sorry about the spelling, calendar, without realizing the clash with his Jewish calendar. Okay, so I think this is like a fairly good answer for what I expected. Okay, does anybody think I should have added more points or perhaps omitted some points? I think not, but who spoke before? That was Arnold. מי זה היה? ארנולד לפני כן שניסית?
Yes, I'm trying to be a philosophic answer, yes.
Yes,
but
okay, אבל מאז יצא מתוק. I mean, it's very good that you tried that because now you have a really nice example of, of a good answer and I won't say inappropriate, but, without, you didn't put the focus on the proper details here. I mean, what you said was right. I'm saying this not only that you feel good, but you were right. At the end of the day, it's really a clash between values. But as you said, that's a little bit too philosophical. Here, I'm asking you really to focus on the issue of the calendars. Okay, so now each question has its own page. And I think you can navigate back. For example, let's say I finished this question. I want to go to the next question. This is the next question. Im yesh lachem charata, or if at the end you want to go over the questions, then you can do ha'amud hakodem. So that the ability to navigate back and forth between the questions is probably important, and it should be available. Okay, a lunar month follows the lunar cycle. Okay, lunar cycle is כמובן הירח סביב כדור הארץ. Please explain why the lunar month is only approximately equal to the actual lunar cycle. Okay, is the question clear?
Is it the days? 365 versus.
What are you giving an answer, or are you asking about the
No,
question?
I'm asking a question. Do you is it referred to the amount of days?
Yes, I think
Okay.
so. I mean, basically, right, the lunar cycle is like 29.54 days, but a lunar month never has 29.54 days, right? It's either 29 or 30. It's always a round number. That's what I mean when I say that the lunar month is only approximately equal to the actual lunar cycle, right? The lunar cycle, yesh lo shevel, נקודה 54, but the month is always מספר שלם. And that's really the answer, right? That I would say something like the lunar cycle, or the actual lunar cycle, is 29.44 days. Or instead of that, I could have said is not a round number, לא מספר עגול, but a month for practical purposes must, of course, be a round number. You can't, Chupchik, where are you? You can't have a month, begin at the middle of the day. Come on, a month. A month begin in the middle of the day. Okay, I think this is like a pretty fair answer. בסדר, again, לא צריך יותר מדי להתפלסף. Okay. Again, guys, or girls, guys and girls, any questions about this? About the formulation of the question, about the answer that I proposed?
We won't have questions exactly like in the practice, right?
Why not?
זה תלוי כמה עצלן אני אהיה. כמה ליבי...
אנחנו נקווה שאתה תהיה עצלן מאוד.
I give you a full point for this answer.
You're willing to waive my responsibility, huh?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
anyway.
Remember, the test will be after the Yom Kippur, and the professor will be more gentle to our test.
לא, הפוך, לפני...
No, he has 1 year, entire year.
Yeah. No, the test is before Yom Kippur. So, במובן הזה זה יוצא טוב, זה יומיים אחרי ראש השנה. No, סליחה, אני חוזר בי, זה בשישי. I'm sorry. You're right, it's after Yom Kippur. Anyway, okay, let's go on. Time is running short, so I think in the next questions, I'm not going to spend time typing it up, but I'll just say it orally, okay? So we have Amud Haba. Although both Islam and Judaism are based on the lunar month, there are a few differences between the two calendars. Please explain, or maybe it should have been, please describe two of the differences.
Sundown and sundown. Sundown and sunset.
No, that's not a difference. That's the same. And
The Islamic
No, they counted from sundown to sundown. We counted from sunset from sundown to sunset.
I don't remember saying that. Sundown and sunset זה בערך אותו דבר. Unless you...
they don't have less
sunrise.
days in a year.
Wait, I just want to make sure. Who's that? Shirley?
Yes.
Okay. Sundown and sunset is the same. Unless you meant to say sunrise. Sunrise. Okay. So no, I mean, the prevalent opinion is that the Islam too is from sunset to sunset, just like the Jews. Okay, there might be an opinion in Islam, but I don't even think we mentioned it.
The moon.
Okay,
Judaism.
okay, so we both go according to Shki'ah, sunset. Let's see, what does she want?
Yes, but I was referring what Dov said to the moon.
Okay. So moonrise and moonset, then not sunrise and sunset. Okay, anyway, so let's Sheil, what did you want? It says that you raised your hand.
Yes, I have a difference.
Okay, בסדר. So Shirley, I hope you understand why the issue of sunrise, sunset is...
Yes.
Okay, יופי, כן. So Sheil, תשאירי...
I hope I'm right, but the days in the year, the Muslim, you have 354 or 55, and the Jew one, you have 365 days. So that's a difference.
Yeah, but it's not a difference between the Jews and the Islam.
There is the big difference.
One
There
second,
is a
one
difference
second, one
between
second. Let me just
their
answer.
holidays. Their
Hold on one
holidays
second.
are not at the same date like the Jews.
Well,
שנה מעוברת.
yeah, Chevra, just 1 second. Let me just relate to what Shir said. Shir, when you were talking about 354, 355, that is the lunar year, lefi kulam, Jews and Muslims. 365, that's the solar year. So that's a difference not between the Islam and Judaism, but that's a difference between the lunar year and the solar year. So that wouldn't work here, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Beseder. Somebody, any other suggestions?
I was thinking about the holidays. It's like their Ramadan can be at any time of the year, and our Rosh Hashanah will always be at the same date.
Well, you really mean the same season of the year. The same
Yes.
Una, right? I mean, the Ramadan is a Tamid Ramadan and Rosh Hashanah is a Tamid.
Yes. I meant seasons.
The
Yes.
season, right. Okay, that's true.
I think
but
I have one.
Just hang on a moment. I would say that a little bit differently because you're saying a bitui of a deeper difference. And the deeper difference is really that the Jews synchronize between the lunar and the solar year with a leap year. And according to the Islam, a leap year is prohibited. Basically, the Jews have a leap year. They synchronize between the lunar and the solar month. And that's why Rosh Hashanah and Pesach is always Ba'aviv. And
I'm answering from memory. I'm not in front of the material right now.
No,
So it's only from memory.
That's fine. It's Yan, and I could say, I'm not grading anybody now. I'm just giving, how to focus yourself. So I would go to the core rather than to give a bitui.
Always for a constructive criticism. It's okay.
Okay, I said destructive, but okay, it's okay.
Sorry.
Boom. Okay, beseder. So yes, so that's one difference is that we have a leap year, they don't. Okay, another difference.
In the Islamic
This is
lunar
Reut
month.
speaking now, right? Reut?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
In the Islamic lunar month, isn't it not according to days? Isn't it according not like 29 or 30 days? Isn't it according to the moon, to the shape of the moon?
Okay. Again, זה לא מדויק לגמרי, because both Jews and Islams follow the shape of the moon, right? Are based on the lunar cycle. The question is, how do we calculate it? So the Islam does this by observation, right? They actually have to have people, standing on the roof and actually seeing the new moon. And those
that's
right?
what I meant. The Jews we have like exact days, no?
Yeah, we do it according to calculation. So I wouldn't use the term exact days, but we can know in advance, right? We know what the days are going to be in advance, and they don't. שיר נכון, עיבור השנה היא אסורה מבחינת מוחמד לעומת היהדות. Yeah, I wouldn't say מבחינת מוחמד, but מבחינת האסלאם. But okay, fine. Any further? So these are the two differences. Number one, I'll write them down. בראשי פרקים. So difference number one is leap year, and difference number two is calculation versus.
Are we going to be able to see what you're writing right now if we open our
No, but you'll be able to see it if you look at the haklata.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The question is if I'll be able to get the haklata up onto the atal, but that's my kevrosh. All right, the time is already a little bit past, but if you're okay, I'd like to go on anyway. Are you okay?
Yeah, but
Yes.
do you mind only saying the full answer to this one, to the second
Yes. Just
point?
One second. I just want to רפאלי, אני קצת מאחר, אני רוצה לגמור כאן את המבחן, אז בוא נגיד עוד 10 דקות, רבע שעה, אני אתקשר אליך, בסדר? פשוט אני קבעתי חברותה עם הבן שלי ב8:30, אבל אמרתי לו שאני עלול לאחר.
מה אתם לומדים?
אתם לא מאמינים, מסכת ראש השנה, בדיוק על זה. כן, איזה קטע. בדיוק את הנושא הזה. אוקיי, רעות, מה רצית? What did you want?
Can you just say the full answer to just this question?
He wanted to elaborate on the second question.
Yes,
On the second.
Okay, fine. So let's begin. בסדר. So as you saw in the question, the Islam and Judaism both use the lunar cycle and the lunar month. Nevertheless, their calendars are different in two aspects. Number one, the Jews follow the lunar year and the solar year. They synchronize between them, and this is achieved by having a leap year, according to the Metanic cycle. Whereas according to the Islam, it is a purely lunar calendar, and they don't follow or don't attempt to synchronize themselves with the solar year at all. אני מוסיף במאמר המוסגר, as a consequence, Pesach is always in the spring. In the spring.
And Rosh Hashanah is always at fall.
Right, and לעומת זאת, the Ramadan, literally, travels across the all 4 seasons of the year because there's no synchronization. That's difference number one. Difference number two is that nowadays, the Amenu, the lunar month begins, according to the Islam, based on observation. You actually have to have people who saw the new moon and then come and tell the, the mufti or whatever, and give testimony. The Jews nowadays don't do it according to observation, but they have calculations where they can, anticipate in advance when the new moon will be sighted, and we calculate our months, according to calculations. As a consequence of this, the Jews can know way in advance exactly when a Rosh Hashanah will be, exactly when every holiday will be, and you can have a long-term planning. The Islam, on the other hand, doesn't really know when their holidays will occur until the last moment. You really don't know whether the Ramadan is going to begin tomorrow or the day after tomorrow until it happens. And that can sometimes cause troubles. I showed you, for example, regarding Ma'arat HaMachpelah in Hebron and so on and so forth. Let me just see what my symbol back here. See what said. Okay, Mitsuyan. Fine. Okay, Yofi. Reut, זה בסדר?
Yes.
Okay, Yofi. So let's go on. עמוד הבא. Okay. What is the Metanic cycle and how is it related to the leap year? Siman She'ela.
You've just explained it.
Well, yeah, more or less, right? The Metanic cycle is a cycle of 19 years to synchronize the solar and the lunar years. How is this related to the leap year? Because based on the Metanic cycle, we know when and how often to add or to make a leap year. Right? So this is actually a pretty simple, I think, question and answer, certainly after the previous one. Is this clear or should I say something more?
It's clear.
Okay, Yofi. I hope you're answering in the name of everybody, but beseder.
What's Metonic in Hebrew?
Yes, Metoni. Okay, Meton was simply a name of that Greek astronomer who figured out the cycle. Remember, I showed you the Acropolis in Athens, and the Areopagus, and then the Sphinx later on. and that's where he did it. But the guy's name was Meton, and I guess in Hebrew you would write
מעגל המטוני, לומדים את זה במדעי המתמטיקה.
מה?
המעגל המטוני.
Really? מתמטיקה?
כן, זה לא רק עניין של אסטרונומיה, אלא גם עניין של תחשיב זוויות אל מול גבהים, למשל.
Can we move to the
היישום
next
של זה
question? We
בארטילריה.
don't have time.
תודה רבה שאת מאפסת אותנו. Okay, Reut, so this is what I would write, and I would figure, sorry about this. Maybe that's how you write his name in Greek.
Okay.
I don't know if it's an omega or omicron, but anyway, okay, just showing off. Beseder, Yofi. Please describe, this is very similar, I think, to the first question, the mismatch between the Western and Israeli definition of day versus the Islamic and Jewish definition of day. Describe one example where this mismatch is problematic. Okay, mismatch in Hebrew, choser atama, or pa'al.
Isn't it midnight and sunset and
exactly,
a problem?
Exactly. So Western and Israeli, simu lev, Israeli, not Jewish, Western and Israeli definition of a day is michatzot ad chatzot, from midnight until midnight. Whereas the Islamic and Jewish definition is mi sunset to sunset, or sundown to sundown, shkia shkia. So now you have a kind of like a 6-hour period where it's tomorrow according to the Jewish and Islamic definition, but it's still today according to the Western and Israeli definition. Between, shkia and chatzot, there's a mismatch. Okay, one example where this mismatch is problematic, we actually examined two examples.
The Knisat Shabbat and the
Birthdays.
Nachon. So with the Knisat Shabbat, that was that thing with Ayub Yakubian, where according to Jewish law, Shabbat begins at Shki'ah, at Lakat Nerot, and the claim was that the Israeli Shabbat should only start at Chatzot and end at Chatzot. So that's
and the kiosk, something with the kiosk.
Exactly. That's the kiosk shel Ayub Yakubian in Ramat Gan. And so that's one example. The other example was, again, going back to Reut, my daughter, where they, messed up.
Miswrote her date.
Right? She was born, exactly in this gap. She was born at, I think it was 10 o'clock at night. And, according to Western calendar, it was still Monday. And according to the Jewish calendar, it's already Tuesday. So according to the Western calendar, she was born on Monday, October 4th. And according to the Jewish calendar, she was born on Yom Shlishi, Kafhei rather than Kafdalet Tishrei. אז עכשיו אתם יודעים שעוד מעט זה היום הולדת שלה. Okay, weiter.
My daughter is on Saturday.
On this Shabbat.
She was born actually on Yom Kippur, but...
so you're going according to the...
that's once in 22 years?
Once in 19 years.
19, I'm sorry. 19.
So how old is she now?
18.
אוקיי, אז יש לה למה לחכות לשנה הבאה, בוא נראה אם זה יעבוד. תגידי לה שלשנה הבאה יש לך הפתעה בשבילה. אוקיי. אוקיי, weiter. Okay. All three monotheistic religions view usury or interest as prohibited. Nevertheless, the laws of usury in one religion are different than in the other two religions. We actually mentioned this before. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the Muslims and is not similar to the Christians and the Jews.
Right, and what is the difference?
The difference is that the Muslims cannot get interest from anyone, not the Christians and not the Jews, and the Jews can take Christians from Gentiles, just like the Christians.
Right. So the Jews and the Christians have a difference between their nation, their own nation, or their own religion, and the Nochri, people from outside. And how does this affect the possibility of finding a solution to the prohibition of usury? Right, so this is what we mentioned, the straw man solution. A Jew and a Christian, can lend money to each other, beribit, because each one is the Shabbos goy of the other, and then they can make that, triangle. But the Muslim cannot take advantage of this because for him, ribit is prohibited across the board. This question is actually a good example where you should be careful. You notice that really there are three questions here. What is the difference? I'm sorry, two. And how does this affect the possibility of finding a solution? And I see that students often, you answer the first part and you kind of forget the second part. So I would give you some good advice. I mean, in general, it's very good to always read the question carefully, but make sure that you've actually addressed all the components of the question. Sometimes there are a few, and you tend to miss them sometimes. Okay, is this clear? I will move on.
Wait, can you explain how to answer the second part of this question?
Well, what is the difference, we said? How does this affect? So I would say again, a Jew and a Christian, can actually lend money at interest one to another, right? Because each one is the Gentile of the other. So they have a solution.
Isn't it like the solution itself, not the effect?
Okay. So now you're saying that maybe the question isn't formulated good enough. How does this affect the possibility of finding a solution? That's what I meant. How would you have worded it?
Maybe give one example of a solution for each group.
Well, that's a different question. I'm not asking for you, for example, here to describe Hijaba to me. Okay, I'll think
הוא
about
שואל אותך בעצם איך זה משפיע על מציאת הפתרון, ולא על הפתרון עצמו.
נכון, אבל הפתרון עצמו זה מה שאמרנו עכשיו, שזה
להלוות מידלמן. אז משהו בסגנון של איך זה משפיע על אפשרות לפתרון. כן.
של המוסלמים אין בעצם פתרון, ולנו יש פתרון.
כן, אז אולי...
זאת ההשפעה.
אז אולי הייתי צריך למחוק את המילים האלה. How does this affect the possibility of a solution to the prohibition? Maybe that would have been a bit clearer. Instead of finding a solution, the possibility of a solution.
So you can basically say
I'm listening.
The Christians can use a middleman and the Muslims cannot, and that's
exactly.
Just
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean.
Okay.
Okay, weiter. Weiter, that means hala in Yiddish. Okay. What is the core idea of all Islamic solutions? This isn't good English for the challenge of usury. Okay, this isn't good English at all. So the question is, what is the core idea of all Islamic solutions to the challenge of usury?
Can we answer with an example, like we're buying a house and the bank is buying it with us?
Well, that's an example. I would prefer that you give
business,
me the core
basically.
Idea, right? Basically, the idea is
business, no?
Right?
It's not allowed.
Purchase. Wait, they're still in Greek.
We're studying English, not Greek.
Not Greek, exactly. Okay. Purchase rather then loans. I mean, of course, these 4 words wouldn't be good enough as an answer, but this is the basic idea. Lo malvim konim. Right, and then, for example, the Hijaba, right? The bank doesn't lend you money to buy the house. The bank buys the house together with you. But this is the core idea. Okay, לא צריך יותר מדי לחרטט פה, but I think that four words probably wouldn't be sufficient. Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, I think this is the last question. Okay, how does the Jewish Iska work? Now, if you all have nightmares now of that last shekef that we saw with all those chitzim and all those colors, so look at the remark here. Please note, Iska, not heter Iska. So I'm not asking you for all those small details about waiving your credibility and buying the profits in advance. I'm just asking, for the basic idea of Iska.
Can we write loan and deposit and just elaborate on that?
Exactly. I would write the Iska. I'm going to actually write it down this time. Is based on a 2 component loan, right?
Parameters.
Is a loan and half is, well, let's do it this way. Half is a loan, and maybe I would add in parentheses, the money is completely the borrowers. Okay, I'm gonna mess up the English a little bit, and therefore the profits it's not his, but the loan must be returned in any event. This is where I'm describing what a loan means.
אחד הוא תגמול של השני.
Yeah, one second. The other is a deposit. The money is still the lender's, and therefore the profit or loss is not this, and sometimes the what should I say, the capital is not returned. Okay, the 2 אני כותב את זה עכשיו קצת מברקי. איך אומרים מתמרץ באנגלית?
איך אומרים מה?
מתמרץ באנגלית. בושות, בוא נראה מה גוגל אומר.
לא, רגע.
איזו מילה?
אינסנטיב.
איזה בושות. אוקיי, אני רק אבדוק, right?
Incentive, encourage.
Yeah. מה יהיה? Invigorating, לא invigorating. Okay, incentive. Let's get back to our place. What's going on here? Here we are.
What did you mean when you typed the capital is not returned?
Capital is a keren of the deposit.
Oh, do you mean the deposit is not returned?
Yeah, like if the cow dies, I mean, kore ones are incentives. This is lousy English.
You're writing in Hebrew.
Yeah. The 2 components are I don't know how to say it in a nice way, are mutual incentives, משהו כזה. Mutual, how do you spell mutual?
Maybe encouragement.
Yeah, encouragement זה יותר פסיכולוגי.
I think the word benefits is more
I see. אוקיי, בסדר, אני לא מתעקש על הדברים כמובן. אבל זה הרעיון, אל תלמדו מהאנגלית שלי פה, זה קצת צולע, אבל זה בעצם הרעיון של התשובה. Okay, so this is more or less the exam. So סיום הבוחן, you already know what to do. הגשה סופית, והשם יעזור. בסדר. Let me add just one final point. You know, you'll do this, maybe it'll take you 20 minutes, and I think the whole exam is like an hour, maybe a little bit more. And then, of course, you're going to check it, right? Now, checking an exam is a danger. זה בעיה פסיכולוגית. כי אתם עוברים על המבחן, ואתם עוברים על הכל עוד פעם, ומה, יכול להיות שאני מה לתקן? ואז אתם כאילו בכוח מתקנים משהו, רק כדי שבמוח שלכם תהיו מבסוטים שהנה חזרנו ותיקנו, ולפעמים התיקון זה קלקול. Going back to my daughter רעות, this always happens to her. אבא, עברתי על המבחן, הכל היה נכון, אחר כך עברתי על המבחן ושיניתי הכל וזה הכל היה טעות. So be careful of this pitfall, you know, זה נחמד מאוד לעבור על המבחן לפני שמגישים אותו, אבל אל תרגישו שאתם ממש חייבים לשנות משהו לפני שאתם שמים את זה. In this type of an exam, maybe it's less critical, you know, because it's a whole bunch of words. I think this tip is more important for a מבחן סגור. You know, מבחן אמריקאי, you know, choose א', ב', ג', ד', מה, יכול להיות שהכל היה נכון ואין לי מה לתקן? לא, בטוח משהו אני צריך לתקן. So be careful with that. Okay, רבותיי, so we're running a bit late, and you know, לא נעים לי מהבן שלי.
רק תגיד לבן שלך שאנחנו מאוד מעריכים את זה.
I will tell him. הוא ישמע את זה בהקלטה. So אני רק רוצה לומר לכם, אני אומר את זה בעברית שאני בטוח שאתם מבינים, היה לי ממש ממש כיף ותענוג הקורס הזה. ממש לא ציפיתי לכזאת שיתוף פעולה וכזאת רצינות.
גם לנו.
עשיתם לי את השבוע כל שבוע, היה ממש ממש נחמד, אז תודה רבה. אני מאחל לכם הצלחה על הכל.
תודה רבה וחג שמח, שתהיה שנה טובה ופוריה.
שנה טובה.
זהו, שנה טובה ובהצלחה לכולנו.
סליחה.
כן.
אני רים, נכנסתי מאוחר.
כן. אני לא בדקתי נוכחות היום, אז הכל בסדר.
בסדר.
הכל בסדר. דוקטור פינצ'וק, תודה רבה לך. פרופסור, להתראות, תודה.
היה ממש מהנה.
כן, גם לי. אז יופי. אוקיי, תמשיכו ליהנות.
תודה. fascinating.
חג שמח.
חג שמח.
אוקיי.